I think we're ready to work now. Hey, hello again. Well, hello for the first time, actually. This is a video I'm doing for the first time for my channel. I'm Kane from Kane's Armory, and I'm doing accessories today. Have been working, as you can tell by my gloriousness, my wonderful accents are nothing but wood shavings because I am turning mugs. Great accessories for anyone. These are actually Christmas gifts, and I'm giving them away. I look like a mess because this is hard work, and well, though it's November, it's getting 80 degrees and it's muggy because it's been raining. And the reason why it's so yellow in here is one, because, well, it's an old garage, and two, the wood I'm working with is extremely yellow, like really yellow. This is all repurposed wood from my parents' house. We did a renovation and remade the kitchen, and there was a lot of waste wood. So there's a bunch on here. This is the yellow wood that I was just working on turned into a mug, and that is a topper of red cedar. I think both of them are cedar, and the cedar, well, it smells like it. So this is the mug that I was just finished, and I have officially upgraded it from mug to stein. There it is. This is the difference right there. One lid. This is a mug. This is a stein. They created those lids to keep the flies out of their beer. Genius. So I just turned that. That's why I look like a mess. And this glorious little piece is being worked later. It's going to get a nice clear coat. And since this is all repurposed wood, those are holes. That goes all the way through. So it cannot hold water or beer. And I will need to fill those in. And I'm going to do that with a Lumelite later. But that's done. And I am getting ready to do these other blanks. And these other blanks will be, well, they're getting some accessories put on them. One, this is going to be a coffee cup. That is way too straight to be a coffee cup. And in case you're wondering, that's the top, that's the bottom. So on the bottom, I have to make it have a curve on there, and that's going to be done on the lathe, but I need more material on the inside. So we come over here. Welcome to my table saw. Now, the reason for this video is that I was posting on Tumblr an instruction guide to get better use out of your tools. Basically, how to 101, make a cheap tool, do good work. And this table saw is what's known as a contractor's table saw. It is nothing fancy, just a little cobalt, and it is a portable contractor's table saw. It's got an 8-inch blade. It does good work. It's not powerful. It's not amazing, but it's good enough. That's what I have to work with. Everything here is good enough. Okay, so this it'll do, Hickey. I made a post on Tumblr about making zero clearance inserts, and these are important. So this zero clearance insert serves one purpose: to make zero clearance between you and the blade. A beautiful little orbit right there. I hope you all saw that, because this is on a phone and I don't have proper recording equipment, so I'm making do. It's the theme. All right, so this right here, this zero clearance saw, this is at maximum elevation. You can see how close that hits the area right there. So this zero clearance insert literally means zero clearance. So I'll be able to make precise measurements to figure out what's going on. And I have to make angled inserts to fit in here. These angles are 15 degrees. Each one of those is a 15-degree angle on each slot, making a bar for your wood. Boop. There it is. Actually, that's a really bad piece. Yeah, so this is a scrapped red cedar, one I didn't use because it has a flaw. You probably see it right there if you got good eyes. One angle is a little bit higher than the other, but 15 degrees on each side kind of makes it look like a little gold bar. And yeah, that's what gets glued together. 12 of these, of course, makes 12 of these, 24 sides. That makes 360 degrees to make a full circle. Math. Now, for that, in order to make that insert, I have to make one smaller the outside facing edge has to be as big as the inside edge is here. Insert caliper. This is the measurement right here of the inside track. So I had to take this to the table saw. Two things that I have to do with the table saw. One is I have to put that blade at 15 degrees. 15 degrees to the working surface. Second step, well, is to make it as wide. That's easier than making it 15 degrees. The zero clearance insert tells me where the blade is going to cut, which is the most important thing. Now, here's another tool. Pretty sure everyone's seen one of these. They like exist everywhere. I got this for $6. The cheapest, most useful tool I have ever come across. This is called a carpenter's square. I've got an engineer square as well, and I got a framing square right there. And it's not as useful as this. This has a pivot. That pivot point is to make angles off of there. Look, all those are angle marks. 15 degrees, right? Oh, I can't do those two fingers. 15 degrees is right there. So I have to make this blade match 15 degrees, and this is a cheap tool. Here's the problem. It's at 0 right now, but if you'll notice, you can't tell what it's sitting on. Is it 0 degrees? Is it 1 degree? Facing directly, it's 1 degree. From above where I sit, it's 1 degree. So 1 degree is 0 degrees, but 15 degrees does not equal 16 degrees. And that's the problem with these cheap tools, is that those measurements do not equal what they say. I've got I'm just like spinning around in circles. I make a great ballerina cameraman. I've got a miter saw that has the same problem. 0 degrees does not equal 0 degrees. And when you cut a piece of wood that does not equal 0 degrees, you get horrendous gaps between those pieces. And let's orbit. Woo! Okay, better light. And you can see there's no gaps. Well, there's some chip out and there's some mistakes in there, but there's no gaps on the top. There's just chip out, but there's no gaps. And there's the woods join, no gaps. And this is done off of $100 tools, really cheap tools. And this is what this is about making cheap tools good. Okay, so there is the cheap man's solution. What this is a little bitty piece of wood that has a very small edge on it. This was from a different project. It's just being repurposed. And it is clamped onto the blade because the blade determines the angle, the table surface determines the difference. So, insert square. Pivot point goes onto the blade, and where you put the pivot point is also going to determine where you read. So since this is going on the outside of the blade, my right-hand side is where this is going to rest. That means that I have to take the measurement on the right side of the blade. And I'm getting to, up here, 15 degrees. So with this in place, just like this, easy peasy lemon squeezy, not difficult lemon difficult shit. All right, make sure it is flush. And I know that's flush because it's clamped. And then we make sure we are at 15 degrees. There we go. Okay, so that's it set up. Yeah, I'm still wearing my mask. One more time. Okay, so that's it set up. I'm still wearing my mask. There's the wood to be cut. There is the piece, and that is the blade and the fence all set up, ready to go. And my forward-facing camera has a wonderful light on it, which makes everything look so much brighter. And in case I'm making everybody nauseous with this, I'm going to stop and I'm going to make a cut. All right, there it is. Cut one, done. All the way down the side. That's pretty straight. I like that. If you do not make straight cuts, you probably want to get a bigger fence. Incidentally, I have a larger fence. Let's see if we can switch this around. No? Okay. It'd be nice if I could switch this around back and forth. All right, so I have a makeshift fence here. This is a wonderful little device that is made out of scrap, an old shelf. And its sole purpose is to sit on top of the fence there and give me a larger surface area. That'll be able to make something straight twice or half the length of this. That's just a little tidbit. Put that back, get back to work. Be nice if I could just like, you know, have it hanging off my back like this and just like watch me work as I lean over. Neat, I'll think about that. Okay. Zero clearance insert. Caliper. Caliper has 3 ways to measure. This is outside diameter, inside diameter, length. If you don't know how to read that, that is 0 to 1 inch, and then it goes into the thousandths. It hasn't reached the first 1. Hasn't reached the first 1, which would make that 1.1. And then in here, you have 1.00. This is the second 0. 1.01, 2, 3. So I am at 1.03 exactly. And that's the distance. Okay, let's move that fence in. Ever so gently. Looks good. This is a good fence because it does it on both sides. I've seen lots of fences that only do it on one side, and this back end is wobbly as can be. That is just a shitty design. Is it shitty? All right, so I got that done. I put the caliper to rest now. Which, oh my God, if you have never made one of these things are godsend. You know where everything is. You know what tools you have, and you have fewer of this mess on the floor. I have to build a second one. So right now I have a shelf, paint can rack, and makeshift table holding crap. And I use this table saw as a work surface a lot, so I end up having to scrape glue off of it more often than I need. And look at that, futon. I'm gonna throw that away. I have another one that's made out of wood that I fixed up. That's gonna go. Okay. All right, so that has been measured out. Glasses go on. Nifty. Okay. One side's done. Second side go. Make that cut, and once I make that cut with this, sorry, trying to manage 2 things. One hand. All right, so once I make that cut, it'll be at the length, and I could test fit it to the mug, and I could use my miter saw. Miter saw is next, and I could use a miter saw to cut them the length I want it to be like about, I think 3/4 of an inch would be good. Yeah, I think 3/4 of an inch. Problem is my miter saw doesn't like to make small cuts like that, so we'll have to make another addition or modification. Let's get started. I'm going to use 2 hands to cut, so I'll be back. Okay, so that's done. Now, I like to do a little bit of cleaning on this. This is just something that I do. There's a tool called a bench sander. It's this tool right here, and it's got a nice large surface right here that is almost perfectly flat. Like pretty perfectly flat. I don't know how to measure that, but it makes really flat surfaces. So I have this fence set up at 90 degrees, and if you haven't noticed, I use the carpenter square to do that, and it's 90 degrees, so I know if I put something against it, I'm going to get a 90-degree corner, which is very important, because the little thingies like this, they put up against it, you put them in here, and you put them in there, and once they're in there, they move all over the place. They have like godly amounts of large tolerance levels on there, and they're made for good enough. So I don't use that if I can help it. And I'm going to run that across the sides on this, especially this side, because this is the glue side. I want to make sure that gets a line on it, because this has been treated wherever it came from, and sometimes they have a waxy finish on them, and I need to get rid of that. And I don't think this really has a waxy finish. I just think that it's just silly smooth. In order to get a good glue, you want it to be a little rough. So this is like 80 grit sandpaper on there. I'm going to make it rough enough. And once it's rough enough, I'll be able to glue it up properly. But before we get that far, we need to check to make sure it's a good size and if it's going to fit. So let's switch sides and go do that. Okay. This is what I was talking about. Looks good, actually. Looks pretty good. That line right there follows that line there. And it does it on both sides. And, you know, I've got a couple of 0.001 thousandths of an inch, you know, wiggle room in there. So I'll do that. But I'm also thinking of the curve on this part, where I want the curve to start, where I want it to end. This is already pretty thick. So I'm going to do a doodle and figure out how deep I want to make this. So let me do those two steps real quick. Starting here. Okay, so this is recording with my headset mic, so you might hear some scratching. I'll check on that. This is just a test. Here's my miter saw. It's a miter saw because it cuts down like this at a predefined angle. And this has 45 degrees marked there, and it's pretty close to 45 degrees, but we need it absolutely 45 degrees. 0 is not 0 on this one, but funny enough, 45 degrees is 45 on this one. But it has another measurement here. These are tiny, teeny tiny. This is like 1.5 degrees for straight up and down. So how did I determine that? That one. Now there's different ways to measure this. If I was to replace this with a zero clearance insert, that would make it easier, but that is something that I'm going to do later. Get right above it, and well, yeah, see, no green, green. It's not 45 degrees. Got to adjust a little bit. I'm doing this to the camera, so you know it's going to be screwed up. It's very, very close. Now, second problem with this is that this is to a insert that can be screwed up. So you never know if it's going to be exactly right. Measure it to the blade. There's a little locking nut back here, so now it won't go up. And now I can use the light. I like the light. So press it against the back wall. Slide it on over. And make sure it goes boop, and yeah, in the back. If I have a high enough resolution camera, you'll be able to tell that that back is, you know, showing the same problem. Space back there, no space up here. That means it is this way too far. I have to push it out a little bit. And thank you for this tool for telling me that, or we wouldn't have known. So I'm going to fiddle with it until it's perfect, because for some reason, well, some helpful reason, this tool, which I can't show you right now, I'll use my hip. There you go. Snaps. You hear that? How is it snapping to those degrees? So it's got a little registration in there, and it'll snap to the degree at 45, 30, and 15. And that is plus or minus half a degree-ish usually. And that works with most things, for contractors, but when you're doing precision, things like this, that can ruin your day. So let's get that done, and I'll be right back. At this particular moment, I'm going to give you a sound warning. Be forewarned. If that was really loud, I apologize. Other than that, deal. Okay. So now that I've got my surface, I've got my 45 degrees definitively here to that, I can now start cutting my little piece of wood here. Hello, you glorious piece of soon to be something awesome. Now, let's start making the cuts. Now, from here, you'll notice there are some measurements. 1 inch is right there. 3/4 of an inch is just off of it because each one of those is 1/8 of an inch. Now, doing some doodles, I'm kind of in between 1 inch and 1/4 inch, somewhere in there. So I'm going to make do and do 1 1/8 of an inch. That will probably be good enough. Okay, so there's a little bit of a flaw in here. That is the gap. When I tested it against it, that is the gap that I have, and that is the gap that I'll have to work with. I've got two choices: redo everything or find a way to live with that. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't want to redo anything. I hate redoing stuff. So there is the angle on the inside. It's a nice angle. And they'll sit right there in a nice little geometric mess. And there is some chip out because of that. So repeat 12 times, 24 for all of them, and I'll get exactly what I want. And these little pieces will serve me well, and I'll be able to sand them out. Now, I like to keep the geometric aspect of this. I think it's neat. I've seen people go in with a sander and a drill press and just clean it out. Now, I've got the sanding belts that I can do that with, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm a math nerd sometimes. I like that stuff. I like the way that looks. Something about it. Hi-ho. Hi-ho. That's the way it goes. And I think I'll keep that. Maybe someday I'll do it differently, but for now, it's a bit of character. I've seen the people who do that, and they do a flap sander, and they very phallically stick it in and work it up and down until it is round on the inside. You perverts. Looking good, right? 6, 12 stacks of 2. So I've got what I needed to make 1, but I noticed a little flaw in my design. When I cut the angle, I could not flip it over and cut it again. Why? Because I need this side to be the long side, not this side. Because this is what goes against it. This is the short side that goes against the inside ring. And so I had to cut it off right here on each one. So that was a simple mistake in planning. I found out this one. Oops. Wrong way. So I tried to make that work, and I was like, oh wait, this is not going to work. And I couldn't figure out geometrically how I was going to get it to work in that manner, so that I can take that really long 2-foot plus piece of wood. I got that left on it. I guess that's why I can't be a Hanzo main. Just in case you're wondering how the glue-up's going, quite well. No, there's no keystone concept in there, sticking in there. No, I use no super glue. This is just simply wood glue. And, well, more on this hand. Here's my little glue pot. And what you do is just spread the glue on very thinly. Well, not very thinly, and you just give it a little press, and that alone will do it. See? Just a little bit of glue, 3 sides. And then you work it in there. I gotta do this while not looking at the camera, so forgive my giant hand being in the way. Once it's in there, just give it a good firm press. And that's it. And it'll stick. If you use too much glue, it'll slide right off. And then you have to go in there and make sure there's no squeeze out. But this squeeze out, I don't care about. That'll go against a sander. That'll be self-contained. So there it is on the inside. Yeah, we're looking like something. And this will give me extra material to chip away, so I'll probably end right here. So this will all be gone. When I end right here, there won't be much That's why this is all important. But being a circle, it'll hold itself together very well. And that'll give me a nice curve on the outside. That's the goal. Hey, thanks for watching the video. This is my very first one, so I've been fiddling around here. What I do is not just make mugs. You probably found me through one of my social media accounts and links you here. You know that I do swords and do cosplay reproductions and other fun things like that. I don't just do mugs, but I put a lot of thought into things like this. And put a little cylinder in the middle there because this is not enough surface area to hold the force of a lathe. So that cylinder will be pretty strong. That's what I like to do. I like to make stuff and I like to overcome obstacles. But I do have a drawing, and it is for things like this. That's aluminum, by the way. That is actually for a paid client, so someone is receiving that as it is. And it's got a companion piece over here. You might see the actual scabbard. Oh yeah, this one's a beautiful beast. I love it. That's real brass. So that's a brass and aluminum piece. And that's the stuff that I make. It's the stuff that I like to do. And those aren't included in the giveaway, but I've got things that are included in the giveaway. So the giveaway is happening on the 15th, which is today. It is for any one of my completed or nearly completed pieces, such as the unfinished Master Sword. And I've also got Thor Ragnarok swords, Loki staff, Steven Universe swords, a completed full-length Master Sword, which is right here. It's missing a little swirly bit right there. I haven't put it on there because I was saving that for later when someone actually wants it. Say, hey, I want that. Be like, sure. And you put that little thing on there and you'll be done. So anyway, again, thanks for following. You can do that fun thing called subscribing. It's dark. Oh, there's some light. You can do that fun thing and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which I would appreciate, and that puts you in an entry for the drawing. Not only subscribing for this, but I also have an Instagram account, Tumblr, with the YouTube on there as well, Facebook, and Patreon. Patreon helps us communicate together as well as decide what I'm going to do next, including demonetizing these videos. So if you like this and you've stuck around this far to even see me say thanks, then think about it. I would appreciate it, and I'm going to try not to advertise too much on it. So long and the short of it, thank you and have fun. I'll make another video later.